Hey, what's happening, all you dudes and dudettes? This is Dudes Talking Freedom back at you once again. This is Luke.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we want to thank you for joining us on the Dudes Talking Freedom podcast. We're brought to you by Warriors for Freedom, a nonprofit that creates pathways to engage service members, veterans, and their families to prevent suicide, foster camaraderie, and help them live their best lives. Check them out at warriorsforfreedom.org. Or check them out right now because we have Erica Walker, Executive Director, and Brett Dick, co-founder from the Warriors for Freedom Foundation, joining us in studio to talk about what freedom means for service members, veterans, and their families. Welcome to the Dudes Talking Freedom studio, guys.
Oh, hey, happy to be here.
How much money do we owe you for that intro?
We
How
can
much
talk
are you
about that
willing to
later.
spend?
It's a discussion we could have after. That was great.
No, this is awesome. I've been talking to Luke about this for a while and getting you guys on the show. We're super excited. Thank you for making the trip down here to Texas to sit down with us and talk about Warriors for Freedom and how we do a better job as a society in helping with our veterans, because it's an important thing, and I don't think people do enough. And
Well,
they joke around.
I want to jump in and just say thank you guys. We've had a great relationship with you, and the sponsorship has been well worth it for us, and we're happy to be a part of this, and glad that we could finally get our schedules together. And it's been a busy last 6-8 months, and so we're happy to get here and get her done.
Heck yeah. Thanks.
Busy's good. Busy's good.
So what is this beer we're drinking? This Warriors for Freedom Lively Beer Works?
Well, it's a 4.2% light lager,
Right.
made from Lively Brewery out of Oklahoma. I got to be honest. We're honest here on this podcast. I hate that fucking beer. Every time I drink it, I'm like, oh my God, it's water. But I would tell you, my husband loves it, and we keep it in the cases. And the bottom line is that 10% of all profits go back to our nonprofit. And we do so many events and programs that I love Patrick and Lively Brewery out of Oklahoma City. They've done so much for us. And it is a running joke that whenever I go in there, they pour me a glass of it straight out of the keg.
Really?
And they're like, watch her. I'm like, oh, it's so good.
Oh, that's funny.
But I couldn't be more blessed by it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as other people like it,
Oh,
right?
yeah, they do.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think that
Luke
was
seems to like it.
yeah. Well, the original conversation, just and on that note, I mean, the original conversation about it was, we talked about. They were just like, well, what direction do you want to go with whatever beer we come up with?
Yeah.
And ultimately, the answer is, well, who's going to drink the most, and who can we sell it to the the bigger part of the crowd out there? And so we did decide to go with the lighter beer. And me being a beer snob and liking Coors Light, then it was perfect for me. So I love it.
It was Coors, Busch, Bud Light, Mick Light, like all the lights. It's competitive to all of them.
Okay. Miller Lite.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a wheat flavor to it, I think. It's not a strong wheat, but it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's a domestic type taste.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
It's great. So who's going to drink the most of it? Is that what you said? Is there a competition?
There is a 12-pack there, one for you and one for Jeremy. So
Oh boy.
I'm sorry it's not a whiskey night, boys, but
I'm 6 months.
let me take a sip.
Without a sip of booze. Not for any other reason other than I'm just like detoxing my body, trying to take
That's
time
amazing.
off, and I just haven't felt the urge.
That's
Although
perfect.
I'm not quitting drinking. I'm just taking some much needed time off. My body's taken 25, actually probably closer to like 30 years of abuse.
Well, was it Jeff?
College,
was it Jeff that was doing the
fraternity.
75 hard?
Vinny was
Vinny.
gone.
Jeff.
Yeah.
I was so happy to bring that, and I was going to say, well, now you're down, because he was down to 73, right? And
Yeah.
I was going to say 72, brother.
Yeah.
You're 72 hard now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was going to do the 73 hard.
Except he had some gaps in his
Yeah.
so we actually had to cut it down to 53. I mean, I don't know, not to be a stickler with the math, but I will do that.
That's
Well,
funny.
good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Brett will
Just a
have to
little-
drink your share.
Yeah, I would like.
Put 'em over
Yeah,
here.
go for it. Go
Well,
for
no,
it.
we've got someone to give it to, the veteran behind the scenes.
Yeah, Daniel
Daniel.
Daniel, grab another one if you want, man. There, he's got
He's
one.
got.
Yeah.
He's loaded.
Very nice, very nice. Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, what's the how'd this whole Warriors for Freedom get started?
So, it's funny because I get asked this all the time, and it's really not such a profound story. What it really boils down to is that both my mom and dad, they were very patriotic when we were growing up, and they had friends that had served in Vietnam, some that had passed away, and they always made it clear to my two brothers and myself that, you always respect those that serve, and you respect those in uniform, and that people are sacrificing, whether you are or you aren't. People are for you, and that always stuck with me. That was always something that just kind of was in the back of my mind. And my dad had broke his back twice in high school, so he did not get drafted, just due to his physical abilities weren't there, and so he was on the side of we've got to support those guys that went, and we got to honor those that don't come back. Yeah. And the truth is, I didn't think about joining up in the military when I was of age. I was going to college. I was doing that's just the path, and I was going to go and get a job and do all that, and so I did. I just got into regular life and sales and worked for Coors for a while in Denver and just did some different things, and then I met my wife, and
I thought that was somewhere near Denver, Colorado. It's not actually in Denver, is it?
Yes, believe it or not. It's
I believe the marketing. Sorry, let me throw you off.
No.
You believe
somewhere
marketing?
near Golden? Yeah, somewhere near Golden, Colorado.
But let me rephrase. I was in sales, and the sales was in Denver. My office was in Denver.
Got it.
I did not work for the brewery, so I worked in sales. So I actually sold we had like 58 different beers that we sold. Obviously, Coors products being the bigger ones, but we sold Negro Modelo and Pacifico and just had a whole portfolio.
Nice.
So what basically happened is that when I met my wife, and we kind of were still doing our whole thing, we were married for a few years, and then she got on in the beginning of an oil and gas company, and she's really brilliant, and she's really good at her job, and she became the CFO of an oil and gas company that went public, and it put us in a new bracket to where I was able to now I can do what I want to do, and so I took advantage of it. Right. And so that's really, the honest truth is, a lot of people be like, oh, I just had to do it, and there was a calling. Don't get me wrong. I definitely had a calling specifically to the military, but it also kind of worked out in life. And so, and that's just me being blunt and being honest about that. I was fortunate enough that I could take some time away, not make very much money, because you don't in this industry, especially when you're first getting started. And so, basically, and I'm going to tell you guys an interesting story too. And to just drag this out a little longer is, we
have plenty of time. So
I volunteered for a nonprofit, and that's where I first met Major Ed, who was the other co-founder. And what happened is that I was working out of the office, and I was just volunteering my time. And I went in one day, and I saw them writing their mortgages out of the foundation checkbook to the two guys that ran the foundation. I saw it.
You never told me that.
Eyes.
What?
Yes.
No
So I called Major Ed that night, and I said, I'm never going back there. I know, and I didn't really know Major Ed Polito. I did not know him well at the time, just his story basically, and had heard him speak a few times, but I didn't know him. And I said, look, you have a bigger reputation in this sphere than I do. I think if I was you, I would never go back there either. It's going to tarnish your reputation in the big picture. And so about a week later, he calls me and he's like, look, I don't have time to run a foundation, but right now there's a serious need for mental health and mental health discussion in the military spectrum. And I was like, okay, man. Yeah. All right. I'll figure it out. I'll learn. I'll study. I'll get on the internet. I'll do everything I need to do to get better at it. I'll take classes and I'll run the foundation. And he's like, I'll be the spokesperson. But he's like, but I need to tell you, this is taboo. I mean, we're talking 2010. Mm-hmm. He's like, what we're doing, nobody's doing, and it could be bad. He's like, it will be bad. And it was. For the first couple of years, I mean, we had military facilities emailing us, telling us that we were unpatriotic, that we shouldn't be talking about the veteran suicide epidemic that's going on and all the mental health issues that are out there.
Wow.
I mean, we were getting heat from political figures in the state of Oklahoma. It was weird.
That's a shame.
It was weird, but it was taboo at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say, hopefully a little bit on us to jump forward 10 years is like, I think we broke that barrier. We helped.
Yeah.
It wasn't just us. There was a lot of things. But we certainly were the first ones in Oklahoma that were out and willing to speak about it. Now, did it help that Major Ed could talk firsthand, and he's somebody who's saying, look, you can't tell me what I went through. I know I lost my leg. I know what it took, right?
Yeah.
So we had a little bit of backing with that, but on this being an outsider, not in the military, there was times where it was hard for me, to the point where I'm like, God, are we doing the right thing? And maybe we just need to switch and be more the hoorah, military kind of all positive and nothing's wrong, and try to go that route and try to go mainstream, and that's but ultimately we stayed the course and we stuck with it and we slowly grew and that's when we started the R22 campaign, and because just right around 13 or 14 is when we started that program, and at the time that's what it was, and really up until recently, within the last couple of years, it's 22 veterans commit suicide every day,
Right.
And it's a horrible thing, and
It is a horrible thing.
And I'll be honest with you, so the military, and Erica can certainly vouch for this, but the people in the military know, but the general public don't.
Yeah.
That program is all for all of the rest of us that are just civilians that are, wanting to help. That's information for us, but they all know because they all know someone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say if not everybody in our program, I bet you we're 90% somebody knows somebody else in one way or another that has committed suicide. It's that
tragedy.
bad. It is. And
Well, you have to talk about it, and it took a lot of courage to just stick with the path that you were on and believe in what you thought was right. So, we commend you for doing that for sure.
yeah,
extraordinary.
it's certainly worked out, and I'm happy that we did, and but it certainly wasn't easy, and it shows, right? Like how sometimes the stigma of things or politics or whatever can really get in the way of just trying to do what's right sometimes. And
We know that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so basically that's it. I've just I'm a firm believer in what's the saying is that you may not want war, but war certainly wants you.
Oh yeah.
And that was said by Russian.
Wait, is Luke drinking a White Claw?
Hold on, I guess I have to match him with
This
his
is
Goodness.
nasty
this is for
sweater
Erica.
here.
This is a
Luke is
monumental.
the only reason why I'm doing
This
this.
is the only reason why I'm doing this.
This is terrible.
This is,
Brett will tell you I'm never found with a beer. Sorry, Brett. We love you.
Sorry.
you're gonna have a stomach ache after that.
I
just
am.
letting
Yes,
you
I
know.
am. He's not. I am.
Oh,
I'll be
all
fine.
the
I'll be
fake
fine.
sugars in there.
Who's the Russian that said this? You know.
Sorry, I had to.
I
I
actually
had
wrote
to
it
call out Luke taking a sip of a White Claw.
I actually wrote it
fine.
down because I never remember.
You don't have to.
It's Leon Trotsky.
Leon
Yeah,
Trotsky.
Trotsky.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, and so anyways, which ironically he was later killed and he was exiled and later killed with an ice pick as a.
Well, he helped
was
the
assassinated.
Morgan cartel, banking cartel fund, and the Rockefellers fund the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia right before World War One.
Right.
Good
Yes.
old Leon Trotsky.
Yeah, but ironically, right, he was in Cuba or somewhere, and they stabbed him with an ice pick. The assassin did just to let him know, like, yes, I remember that you did that, and just so everybody, all your other people, were reminding them too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's a real piece of work.
Yep.
But yeah, so here we are today.
As most of those gentlemen who start wars under the guise of political revolution
Yeah.
are.
Bullets and band-aids, right? Like they just
right.
want to sell more shit.
That's right.
So whatever.
So you said it was 2010?
We
10
actually
years ago?
became a nonprofit officially in January of 11.
Okay.
So we recently had our 10-year anniversary.
Yep.
And now we're just moving forward.
We
I said kicking ass.
What are those? What are those? For?
Erica just pulls out of her purse some Band-Aids that say "dumbass" on them.
Oh, those are Band-Aids. I thought they were like stickers for you to put on your drink.
Oh, we were talking about this.
God, yes. Congratulations on 10 years.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're right, because I'm trying to think back to 10 years ago when I was where was I 10 years ago? I mean, we were just moving into the New Jersey area after my wife and I got married up in Massachusetts. She's from Jersey. We moved to New Jersey. I got a job in New York at the time with the company I was for, selling software. And it wasn't a thing. Like, we didn't hear too much about it. And I started like paying closer attention to it as I heard more about it. And, you'd see ads or people on Instagram doing like the 22 push-ups a day, bringing attention to the 22. And that's when I started to really pay closer attention. And then when Trump was running for office, he started really hammering the VA and what was going on at the VA, right? And and trying to draw out a lot of the issues during his campaign, like, hey, we're not taking care of our veterans. This is a problem. And things really started to snowball around that time. So that's an awesome story, that you kind of parlayed what was a bad experience in a nonprofit that you're, working with to what you're doing today.
Yeah, it just kind of shows sometimes you got to persevere and you don't always know. I mean, at the time, I really didn't know if that was the right decision. And luckily we did stick it out. And again, other groups started getting involved, like you said, and there's 22 Kill out of Texas, and they're awesome. They're an awesome group. They're really cool guys. I met them around 2016 and sat at a table with them at a fundraiser, and just really cool guys, and it just goes to show, right? Like, everyone's out there just trying to do what's right and trying to get the word out. And now I think that the word is out. I think it's just more of now reduction rate, and now starting to try to figure out what can you do to reduce it. And it's not so much just about getting it out so that everybody's aware. Now what are you really trying to do to reduce those numbers?
There's probably a pretty good correlation with wars.
I was going to say, less
suicide
war
rates,
would
right? Like,
probably help.
the macro there is less war, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Less combat, right? Yeah.
You look at the big brain on
20 years versus 1.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Erica, how'd you get started with Warriors for Freedom Foundation?
Man, I'm going to try to keep it short because long-winded guy. No, that's awesome. I worked for a company called Spartan Race, a little company out of Boston. No big deal.
Spartan Race, yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone's heard of that.
Maybe not.
Tough Mudder.
Befriended a gentleman named Joe DeSena. Name drop. You're welcome, Joe. But anywho, so when COVID happened, I was in Denver, and we were building a program called DECAFIT, no promo. But anywho, I was the director of that whole program and the innovation of that with a couple of other gentlemen. Anyway, COVID happened, and I remember just sitting in an Airbnb in Cherry Creek in Denver, and they were like, we got to get home. Like, we're fucked. And I'm like, what's going on? And my husband's calling. He's like, I'm driving to get you. I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, literally, we were just happy building this program. And this pillar of Spartan Race, and all of a sudden my husband's telling me he's driving to get me. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, no, I ain't giving up those Delta miles. Like, no way.
Yeah.
So I flew home, and we thought it would be 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. One of my friends, Johnny Lopez, look him up. He came, and him and his boys stayed with us at our little house in Alec, Oklahoma, and we were doing all sorts of like foraging and building gardens, and we're like, yeah, we're going to war. And it was like this crazy, insane, we were all military and we're ready for this and bring it. But we really, in the back of our minds, were like, yeah, this is fun. It was like cosplay, and it'll be over in 2 to 3 weeks. Cosplay. Like Johnny lost an arm. So anyway, he's like grabbing my husband's bows off the mantles, and he's pulling, and now he's sponsored with Black Rifle. Anyway, he's pulling 75-pound bows. You can look him up. up. And it started in my backyard because we're going to have to defend our fortress.
Yeah.
And it literally, I'm not even like, we were so into it. And they were pulling tomahawk venison steaks out of the fridge and we were cooking them. And it was like this crazy, like, yeah. It like, I'm like 5-finger death punch on volume in our heads.
Hey, it's when you started talking about bringing attention to veteran suicide, that song popped into my head. Wrong
right?
Side of Heaven.
100%.
That's an amazing song and an amazing video as well. Great band.
Wish we had rights to it.
reference.
We could play it right now in the middle of this. But I mean, you had my husband, who's we won't even go into him till later, but Johnny and these 2 dudes and our kids, and we're like, we're building a fortress. And then Johnny was like, on week 3, he's like, I think I should go home back to Florida. And I'm like, why? We're doing this. He's like, yeah, I think this is going to go on longer than 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, but are you sure? Anyway, fast forward, he left and, we all made it through COVID. But there came a point in my husband and I, we've been, I think this month we met 23 years ago in Babenhausen, Germany. We're both stationed in Germany. Wow. So it's been 23 years.
Congratulations. Long time.
Yeah, it's great.
Years.
Yeah. Anywho, but because of combat, because of 2000 and what was it, when all of the 9/11 stuff happened, Bo was a forward observer. I did Patriot missiles, and then things changed. And anyway, through the whole evolution of it all, Bo ended up deploying. Like he was gone. I was gone. And so there came a decision where I stayed home with the kids, but he was gone all the time. I didn't even know this dude that lived with me. Like, it was great. He came home. We had tons of money. It was fabulous. We lived on Fort Bragg. It was fantastic. Nice. I took care of the kids and went to work. I was a chief of ops at Fort Bragg MWR for a minute underneath our superhero, Lloyd Austin. We don't have to get into that. But the long story short was COVID happened. Yeah. And all of a sudden, this superhero was in my house all the time. And he cut his toenails on the front porch. And he ate with his mouth open. Every time he put a chip in his mouth, I was like, why are you doing that? Or he'd yell at the kids, or, there was so much intricacy that
flashbacks.
You know what I mean? Like
on the home front, myself right now.
Like normal human beings, and I don't mean to say, and everybody will probably kick my ass, the military is normal. Well, our relationships are normal. Dude, yours may have been, but ours was not, because my husband was a combat veteran and he was gone all the time, and they sent me over every once in a while, so it was all this sprinkled, raised on Fort Bragg, daughter born there. So we came to Oklahoma because Mama was sick. She had kidney failure. So we were like, what do we do? I'm in Boston. He's getting ready to leave Fort Bragg. We were having issues. He was having transition shit going on with his PTSD. And so we ended up in Oklahoma City, and then all of a sudden COVID happened, and I was like, I have to go home? And I went home. And then I was like, this dude, like I just told you, like, dude, he cuts his toenails on the fucking front porch. What is that? It's so fucking weird.
Where's he supposed to cut them?
Oh, no, but I'm saying, like that's normal for him.
You know how hard it is to cut them over the trash and make sure that the nail gets in the trash?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
That's 2200. I'm on a 16.8. So I can't eat anymore right now.
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Was that Annie?
That was.
That's right. Hard Knock Life.
Hard Knock Life. Can't eat anymore right now. I'm like, good luck till 11 o'clock tomorrow.
This sucks. This sucks.
But anyway, long story short, I was like, if I don't get away, I literally am going to be a homicidal maniac. And Brett can attest to my behaviors. Like, I get very emotional, and I'm like, I can't live with this human being anymore. And so I was like, I need to volunteer. I need to do something. Yeah. And so I started looking, and I come from a long line of sports and recreation. I come from a long line of military. Like, I just was blessed my whole life. And Warriors for Freedom popped up. I'm like, what is this? And so I didn't even look into it. The only thing I knew, and we actually had the conversation, was that they took, was it 40 veterans golfing in Ireland?
To Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, they took 40.
20 veterans and then their spouses.
And then spouses.
So 40 total.
They took a bunch, and I'm like, man, that's my shtick. Like, I could totally do that. Like, I have events, I have planning, I have nonprofit, like, I have all this stuff. And so I applied for it, and I got on the phone with a guy named Andy Cullen. He's one of our board members. Yeah. And we talked, and it was supposed to be an initial interview. It ended up at like 2-3 hours. And he was like, tell me more. But anyway, they made the decision. Long story short, they made a decision to bring me on. Bo is still alive and well. He's actually probably working out the jury the Hilton.
The Hilton.
I don't even know
wherever you're at.
Yeah, wherever we're at, he's working out there now. So that's kind of how it happened. I mean, it was really divine intervention because I never meant to go from nonprofit. And I mean,
so Warriors for Freedom saved your marriage.
I think they saved more than my marriage. I think they saved my husband's life. I tell people all the time, when I started and Brett had in, all of a sudden he was there. He was like this little piece of everywhere. He was helping us load trailers. He was there. He's there with us all the time. He's here with me today.
Yeah. I mean, awesome. For sure. And I think it's a great story. And I like, I like to hear you tell it, especially to the other veterans, because now you see it firsthand too. So it's not just, no, this is my job. You also were like, no, you didn't ask him to come. You weren't saying, I have to have help. You have to be here with me. He was like, no, and I think probably because you didn't say, right? If you just said you have to be here, you'd have been like, no. I mean, I'm a husband too. Yeah, like, my wife tells me to do something, I say no. Exactly. And then I say, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, he's always with us. And Bo, we can get into it later, but he's a Purple Heart veteran, got hit by a suicide bomber, so we've been through some shit. And it's been heavy shit, and it was a lot of shit. And he was pretty what is the word? Not extrovert, introvert. He was pretty introverted until I took this job, and it was divine. If you believe in that,
I do. I used to not.
Yeah, it was divine. He doesn't believe in it, but I'm like, dude, like, there's so much health and growth in Bo. Anyway, it's why I do what I do, and it's why I don't want to stop what I'm doing.
Well, he basically runs our hunting program.
He does.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of taken it under his wing and expanded it. I mean, we always had one, but it was pretty small. And it was just kind of a couple events a year. We would take some guys out and not very formal. Just kind of whenever it came, and we would send guys out there and do it. And now we have lease land, and we're sending out. I mean, I think we hit 40 guys last year. Mm-hmm. And awesome. I bet we were probably averaging about 10, maybe 15 prior to that. And so and it's just, and now they have access to more things, right? And that's the other side. We were kind of very pigeonholed into a few turkey hunts and some deer hunting and maybe some bird hunting, but it was just dependent on the year on what we'd have. Mm-hmm. And now it's all set, and we have hog hunting and all kinds of stuff.
Exotic ram hunt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we've got exotic hunts.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what all types of excursions and events do you guys put on for the veterans and service members?
You go ahead.
It's a lot.
I'm kind of interviewing him as well.
Yeah.
So, Brett, what do we have?
Yeah. So
how does that make you feel?
How does that make you feel, Brett?
Tell you, I feel like you know what I really want to say?
Asshole.
Yeah.
Boy,
he wants to make her here now.
No, really, I want to say, boy, these sweaty balls. These are really good sweaty balls.
Have you tried my sweaty wiener?
Sorry, just these microphones and headphones. That's where my brain's at right now.
That's right. It does that to you.
It happens.
But it's funny.
You're turning yourself on. Actually, you're hearing yourself talk. It's probably that.
Yeah, we started out in golf, and golf was what we were primarily doing in the beginning, and we did. It is a cool story that in 2014 or 15, actually it was 14. We did send 20 veterans, most that were physical amputees, a few that were mental health guys, but mostly amputees from all across the country. And we sent them over, and they got to play St. Andrews, and wow. I mean, it was really cool. Nice. And the other cool part is that they got to take their spouses, and that was a big thing too. And so that was really the biggest thing we'd done to date. Everything else was pretty small, and we do not do a ton of stuff nationwide. We are more local to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. But that was just an event where we had partnered with a few other groups and got on with St. Andrew's Legacy, which is a nonprofit that does that for veterans across the world. And we just happened to get involved with them. It was kind of a lucky thing, but we did do a little bit of hunting. We got into motocross earlier. I'm a huge motocross guy. My brother will tell you I come every year and stay with them when they come and do Supercross in Dallas. And my wife likes to come so she can hang with his wife. And Ryan and I get to go. And
That's cool.
And watch it. And, you know, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but I mean, I know all the riders. I watch every week. I record it and I watch it, and I'm all into it. But
it's no different than football or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, it's I love football too. I mean, football is my favorite sport, but I do love motocross, and we have a lot of good riders, and we actually have a really good coach based out of just outside of Oklahoma City. And I got connected with them, and so we started doing one event a year out there, and we did it for a good 8 or 9 years. And it's a little bit trailing off here recently, but it was a great, you know, it was fun, and there's a lot of veterans that are actually in the sport, especially combat guys. It's good for their mental health, and you know, guys get wound up pretty tight a lot whenever you've got, you know, whether it be combat stress reaction or full blown PTSD, then, you know, there's stuff that just builds inside, and it's fair or not fair, but it does. And it can be anxiety, it can be a lot of things, but it results in tension. Yeah. And, you know, motocross is one of those things where it takes a lot of effort. I mean, you know, the average bike weighs just over 200 pounds, right? So the heavier bikes are 250, 260, and you're manhandling that thing around a track. It's not easy. I mean, that's some of the best athletes you'll find in the world when it comes to just all-around athletes. And but even if you're just a casual rider, you don't just go out and ride and it's all fun and it's not like road riding where you just go and sit back. I mean, you're handling that thing the whole time. So anyways, so we did a lot of that in the beginning and got behind that and actually raised money and bought a bike for a veteran that was really into it. And nice. It was fun. And
those guys take a beating too. I know that where I grew up in Stillwater, Oklahoma, Guy Cooper was right out of there. And then his nephew,
Cowboy Kenny
Bartram, I actually graduated from high school.
Oh, you
with.
did?
And that guy, I mean, he had his jaw wired shut, his collarbone broken, his arm broken. Like, you never didn't see him in a cast or some kind of medical equipment. You know, I mean, it's just it's a rough sport.
It is a very rough sport.
Yeah. And Ricky Fowler's into motocross too.
He is.
There's
That's
a lot
right.
of motocross fans out there.
Yeah. But, you know, just kind of moving forward, then we eventually got into hunting. And like I said, it was a lot of off and on stuff that we did. And then we basically, we brought on, well, I guess we did start scuba. We started scuba.
You did.
In about 2016, maybe 17. And a funny story to talk about that is that at the time there was 2 of us employees, and Amber Mulder was our former executive director, and she was great. She was awesome. And we had a board member that came to us, and he's really active, and I actually graduated. Well, he was a year older than I was but he's from my high school in Woodward, America. Shout out to Big Woo, and population 12,000, and
skills.
But he served in the Air Force and had been deployed all over the world, and then had basically kind of came back and retired and found out that I was running this. And
he was an A10 loader on the A10.
Oh, is that right? We just had an A10 story.
Loaded the Freedom onto the aircraft.
Yeah. Well, he did that, and then he also was like I think he was F-15 or F-15 mechanic also.
Those don't matter.
Yeah.
It's just the A10.
But,
That's the sound of Freedom.
It's with the gun on the front, right?
Yeah. Nick Lavery was on last week, and he talked about his story with an A-10 coming down, and you know, he's special forces, and
that's awesome.
You know, he told the whole story about how they called it in, and the radio chatter going back and forth, and he was just saying he said it was just a great story.
I mean,
anything involving an A10 is the greatest.
That's
story
what he said. He's like the A10s.
It was him and a buddy on a bridge, and the A10 was coming in, and they're like, "Oh my God, this dude's coming straight for us. Are they sure that they see us?
Yeah.
Are they sure they see us?
Yeah."
And they're like, "Don't worry, we got your guys. They're like 6'5" looking motherfuckers, Viking looking motherfuckers.
We got it.
We know. There's no mistaking who your guys are."
In our house, you say, "What's the sound of freedom?" And the kids and all of us go, "Ah!" Like literally, it happens in our house. It's hilarious. So anyway, I'm sorry. I just want to give Scott the props of the A10.
Yeah, that's great.
And so he basically said, "Look, I'm kind of getting into scuba. I want to start a program." And we were stretched to the gills, and I was like, "Absolutely not, man. Like, no." Like, and then he's like, no, but really, I think he can do this. And I've done a lot of research. And I'm like, fine, man, you do it. And that's not something you say to a board member. Yeah. But it kind of helped since I'd known him since high school. So we had an honest and open approach about it. But I was like, look, man, we don't have the bandwidth. We can't take on a new project. And also throughout our careers, my biggest thing was I never wanted to take on something that we're going to do for 2 years and quit. Like if we're going to have a program, we're going to have it, and it's going to stay for the longevity, at least for several years, so that we can establish and not be that one that puts their toe in and then pulls out. And you see those nonprofits all the time, is that they'll jump in because it's popular, and then they're gone in 3 years or 4 years. They're nowhere to be found. And I didn't want to be those people that did that. I wanted to be established that these are the things you're going to find out of us. You may not get more, but you're not going to get less. This is what we're going to do. So I told him, I was like, look, man, you run it. You're going to have to raise the money for it because we don't have it. We can't start the program. It's too expensive. All these things. And by God, he was determined to prove me wrong, and he did. That sucker, he got out within 3 months. He had already raised money. He had equipment being donated. He had the facility. He had the place that wanted to, be our long-term partner, who they still are. I mean, all the things. So
that's great.
It's now probably one of our most successful, just different things that we do, of all the things. That
We're
one
just
is
trying to
really,
get him on audio that says it's our most successful program.
Yeah, it is.
Second only to hunting if you measured it.
Well, it's really expensive. It's really expensive to send people scuba diving, right?
It's
you cover all
$1,000
the
to
costs.
$1,200. Yeah, it's $1,000 to $1,200. The only thing we don't cost is, and we require an investment because we'll have 29 people show up and 9 won't show.
Oh yeah.
And Warriors pays that, so you
pay for the people who don't show.
We pay for them.
Yeah.
So basically, we the program is to get them certified, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay, got it.
So we'll have the equipment for them, and we'll have ways that they can go through all the training. But that's still $1,000 commitment from us on the front end, if they want to go through the entire program in the entire training. We basically have to decide up front whether we can. Like they can come in a couple of times. They kind of give us some leeway, but most of the time, if they're going to go past the second test or training and all that stuff, basically it now turns into $1,000 cost to us. Yeah. So with that said, is that this being the only program we charge, but we charge $100 because we need a financial investment from them to then say, well, I don't want to lose $100. Yeah. I mean, I want to be committed to this too, and you can't blame them if you didn't charge them anything. They're just like, who cares? I'm not going this week.
I'm not losing anything.
Yeah. What do I have to lose? Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah, we saw 9 last year. So you do 9 times 300. That's what we lost minus the $900 investment. But
right.
$2,700.
Yeah, it's like selling software. I mean, I sell software for a living, and like people are like, "Oh, can I get a free trial?" I'm like, if you get a free trial, you're not going to do shit with it. Like you
put $100.
You're going to sit there for 30 days or 60 days or however long it is. You're not going to allocate anything to it. There's no value to it. You're not getting any sort of you're not getting anything out of it. And you're not putting anything into it. So you don't care if nothing happens, right? There's no vested interest in what you're doing. So
right.
Yeah, so I think it's important. Get some skin in the game, as they say.
I mean, I showed you that guy today, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we had a guy today. It was like, what's the $100 for? I'm like, dude, people invest in us. They trust us with their money. Yeah. When we donate money, we're giving up gas, we're giving up food, we're giving up things personally. Yeah. And that guy literally came back, and I was like, here we go again, because I have veterans all the time. Like, it spirals out of, but he was like, I agree. Absolutely.
I was so bummed I didn't win the Porsche.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah, I put it, guys are joking around with me for about it was like every other week. They're like, "Did you get another one?" I'm
another
like,
raffle
just
ticket.
a couple tickets, just a couple.
We brought that Porsche everywhere.
Yeah.
The guy that won that
ragged the piss out of it.
His name was, I think it was Marcus, the guy that won that lottery. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Marcus.
I think his name was
your
Marcus.
Brother, your cousin?
I should know more, but I know, right? Kidding. Not my cousin, not at all. We're not even allowed to play, but I just remember going, oh my God, that Porsche that Porsche.
Nice.
It was a nice Porsche. Yeah. I don't know where it's at today. It's probably in a dump in New York City with the fire bike from Orange County Chopper, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like they found that bike and they brought the senior and the junior. Anyway, it was a big
The Tuttles.
The Tuttles. They brought the Tuttles back. We're going to rebuild this bike. And I'm like, oh God.
after they're like throwing chairs at each
And
other.
I tell you, Paul
and
is one of my dearest friends. I'll show you.
No kidding.
I swear to God, I love this guy more than anything on the planet. He's the kindest guy on the planet. But I was like, Paul, what are you doing? Because him and Polly were going at it, right? Like after the chair thing.
Yeah.
And I was like,
didn't they like not talk to each other for a long time?
forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak on it now. I wouldn't speak on it now, but I would tell you one thing about Paul Sr. He loves his grandkids. He loves his family. And that show was raw for him. And when they pulled that bike out of, what was it? Like a wreckage out of 9/11?
I don't even know.
Did you guys see
it?
that episode? They pulled, it was like a New York Jets bike. Somebody bought it
Yeah,
and
I
then
know.
freaking threw it in the trash. And they were
Really?
like, let's get them together. And I was like, oh shit, it's going to be bad. But anyway, all's well that ends well. We're glad to be here, and so scuba.
Yeah.
Scuba.
And
So scuba,
now-
hunting,
let's,
golf.
You asked,
Yeah. So it's kind of where we were before we hired Erica, and to add a little bit to that too. You know, it was interesting for us is that we had been through all these interviews and they were all people from really big foundations, and they all kind of had these ideas on well, this is the corporate way and this is the way you have to do it moving forward, and we were just like, yeah, just not a fit. Like they were all, and the truth is that one had a spouse that was a veteran, and that was it. It just didn't feel right. Like they all were very qualified. They had checked all the boxes, but like the interviews were just wasn't a fit. And then Erica comes in out of nowhere and hoorah, and it made a big difference because basically, yeah, Amber and I, who did not serve, neither one of us did, and we always felt a little handcuffed when it came to really wanting to talk to the veterans, and then sometimes like when these things would come up about arguments or they would complain about something, and we never really felt like we had a strong foot to stand on besides the fact, hey, look, we're paying for this. Why are you complaining?
Yeah.
You know, because look, veterans are no different than the regular population, right? Everybody complains.
Yeah.
So it just was nice.
Except for Chick-fil-A workers.
Oh, true.
That's true.
Is every one of those saints?
Yeah,
Jesus,
they are.
take the wheel.
They really are.
Yeah.
They're great people.
Ate there today.
Just wanted to point that out.
That's funny. But
What do they say? What do they say when you get your food?
It was my pleasure to serve
pleasure
you.
to serve
My
you.
pleasure to serve you.
get the fuck out of here. That's what I heard today.
Did they really?
No.
Thank you, Bonnie
No,
Rotten.
never.
Yeah.
Never
Thank
would
you,
you
Bonnie
hear
Rotten.
No, you wouldn't.
that. But
Good job, Brett.
now you made me lose my whole train of thought. Oh, but then when she came in, you know, it was just that she had she served overseas and like she just got it. And that was the first person that had came in and interviewed, even though she actually missed the check marks on the other side. It was just the right fit. It's just what we needed. And
It freaked you out just enough.
it was. And
It was.
You know, and again, if you guys want to know more into our history than you should say, but I ran it in a certain way, and my way got us to so far, right?
To where we are.
It got us here, right?
Yeah.
But I could feel myself not agreeing right away, like the way she wanted to start expanding things, and you know, she was just yes to everything. We're going to
She
do
was
this.
your
and we're gonna
Patches
do this, and we're gonna
O'Houlihan,
just-
so to speak.
Oh, it was. I love Brett, but oh my God, I would be like, yes, we'll spend $800, and he would come to the office and be like, but you know, salary is this much. I'm like, yes, I do, but we got it. And he'd be like, oh, and I'm exaggerating, Brett, but he would just like look at me with this panic in his eyes, like, you're gonna run us to the ground. And I mean, I think that's what ties us is that difference.
And in
Yeah.
2013, we almost did. We overpromised, and
That's true,
it
yeah.
almost put us under. And I have played scared ever since.
Yeah.
And so again, you talk
I'll do
about how
that.
we didn't do a whole lot. It's because I was always afraid to spend too much money. You know, we were going to always be good stewards. We're going to spend the right amount, but never too much again, right? And so
very
I really
different.
had handcuffs on, and so I knew when she came in, I knew, and they call it founder syndrome. I mean, it's a real thing where your founder sticks around too long, and it never goes anywhere because he's still the one, or she is still making all the decisions and still wants to do it as if it was the first day.
Like Jerry Jones?
And
Hold on, let's build a parking garage between us and Nestle. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You don't know about that?
Wait, what?
He built it. Anyway, we'll get on to it. I'll tell you after this.
Oh, it's fine.
I don't want to take away from Brett's thunder.
no, but so I really knew what was best for the organization was for me to not be there day to day, not to be in the day to day. And honestly, I had a little burnout. There is a little bit of that too, but I did know I was man enough to see the writing on the wall that if we really wanted to be successful, we had to start doing new things and we had to start going in a new direction. And I would hinder that. And I knew I would. Yeah. Because I know how I am, and I know the decisions I made for the last 5 years have all been in line with this.
It's a sign of good leadership, self-awareness.
Yeah, and it was hard, but I also knew it was going to be a lot easier if I wasn't hearing all the things every single day, all the phone calls, all the everything we were saying yes to. I would have flipped out.
I'm nuts.
I would have flipped out.
He literally needs Xanax every day that he was with me. I'm not gonna diet. Like it literally was like an eyeball conversation.
Yeah.
And I love that we can smile about it now, but it was real then.
Sure.
It was
So
like,
it's a reallocation of resources that really kind of catapulted you to where you are today, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it was good because we're definitely opposites, and she saw it in a different way that I never looked at it as, because we dabbled in it and it failed. And so I was scared to try to dabble in that again. And then she got in and she did it and she nailed it. And I had told her, I said, look, I'm going to let you do it your way until it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But when it doesn't work, I'm coming in and we're going back to my way, because my way's worked for the last 9 years. Like we're going to, and luckily for me, the opposite happened. We've exploded. I mean, we're killing it now.
Awesome.
Out of control.
And it's awesome. Our numbers are up huge in our veteran count, in our participation. And I'll turn it over to you, because this is certainly, a success to your leadership and what you've done and saying yes all the time.
I'm a yes man, and it is true. And now, it was all about quantity. It was about getting veterans to believe in us again and believe in Warriors and what we were doing. We have so many negative naysayers still out there that we have to battle every day. But at the end of the day, I told you about Bo in the beginning. People started to see us and for who we were, and Bo had suffered so many traumas with his journey, and I suffered them. And the one thing that I can sell that Brett can't sell is I was a soldier. I went to combat. Yeah, it was Kuwait. Shut up. Who cares? It's still a patch. But I was a expert 249 gunner, so I can talk about ammo. My husband was a forward observer, and he deployed 8 times. He was blown up 8,000,000 times in my head, right, as a wife. And he's a Purple Heart veteran. He's all these things. And then to add the cherry on the top, our son decided to join the United States Army. So he's an infantryman serving right now. Wow. And so it was just a different discussion. And it's not a give or get thing, but it was just Brett and Amber didn't have that. And they were doing the best that they could as civilians, trying to support our community 100%. Yep. And there is this... Then you have all the Wounded Warrior Project bullshit that came out, right? Like all these organizations and the cannibalization and what does this mean? And I still get that, like, you don't know. Man, and my response is, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know. You live in my house for 5 minutes with this man. Yeah. You live in my house for 5 minutes as a mom with their son down. So it just kind of added a different dialogue to the conversation. So we celebrate what they did, but what Brett and Amber did was give us a platform for me to jump on to act like, a gunner out of a friggin' UH-60 heading into Vietnam type of thing, right? And people were like, we don't trust her. And then it became, well, we kind of trust her. And it just became this thing where, dude, I've been there in every facet. I'm not just someone that served in the Army. I'm not someone that put on the boots in the 2000s. I'm someone that has lived through this shit. Yeah. Come to the table with me. Yeah. You want to talk? And I mean, I've got people that have, like, C.T. Fletcher, I've had conversations with. Joe DeSena, I've had conversations. Like, these people, I prepped Joe DeSena for freaking his interview with Joe Rogan, because it's not about me. It's about how do we touch these veterans and get them in with us. And we're just this little spot in Oklahoma. Who gives a shit? It starts somewhere. Where did Wounded Warrior Project start?
Yeah.
Freaking handed backpacks out at freaking Walter Reed, right? In 2004. It doesn't mean nothing. What he has gifted me is beyond anything I can think of. And I always tell him I got a 5-year shelf life. So I got about 3 years left in May. And I'm done. And people are like, no, you can't leave. And I'm like, dude, that's a problem with this community. In 5 years, I don't know what it's like to be a veteran in the military now. Yeah. And I become one of those people that say, well, when I was a soldier.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. And so I am fiercely dedicated to R22 and stopping that shit. Yeah. I have lived through more R22s that I never thought would happen. I have been almost a victim myself because of what I've been through, and I understand the triage and the care and the journey. And for anybody, I tell everybody, step up to me, let's have a conversation, because what he started is why God put me here. And I don't care what you believe, if it's Odin, if it's nothing, if it's Jesus Christ himself or whatever Buddha, bring it. Let's have a conversation at the table. And I think that's the value that I brought to the table. That wasn't, they asked me, what don't you, I said, I don't have a master's degree. I don't have that. I don't have a master's degree to run a nonprofit. And it was very quickly decided, some of the dumbest motherfuckers have master's degree. So we're going to give you a shot. And they gave me a shot. And, I'm blessed by Brett, and I'm blessed by the entire board. And we've grown from serving 8 to 10 a month to over 400 a month. And last year we went from 169 when I started to we're well almost into the 5,000s now. And it's just a projection platform of, we took 15 veterans to Belize diving last year. We're taking however many to, I can't disclose it. We're hunting rams, and it's like, oh, these are so exotic and Hollywood shit. No, it's shit that dudes really want to do. And we're taking families out. We hosted, we spent thousands of dollars on Gold Star families because the opinion was that Gold Star families are not a part of our community anymore. Bullshit. What if your husband or wife died? Yeah. Would you like to be shut off? Well, Warriors for Freedom doesn't do that. We grab onto those people and those children. We say, your soldier, Marine, Air Force, whatever. They may have been passed, but you are welcome here in our family. And that is the message that I deliver everywhere I go, no matter how many negative emails we get. I mean, it hit me at first. Like, I'd never experienced the hate that I experienced when I first started. I mean, it was meltdown here. I'm like, oh my gosh, all I do is live every day in my head of how can I improve? How can I create? How can I? And they're like, you suck. Literally, I got a comment 2 weeks ago that was like, you're fat and you give the middle finger. I'm like, well, motherfucker, you're correct on 2 points, but what's your point? Like, and so now I'm 16 and 8 and I'm fasting and I'm trying to get better. I mean, COVID caught my ass too, but it's just about driving for those people. Like, the war's not over. The war, just because Frank Helmick pulled out, Barack Obama pulled out, Lloyd Austin pulled out, they all pulled out of the war. But what did you leave? Yeah. You left this war behind for these families. And if Warriors for Freedom can jump in there and take you to a movie theater to give you an hour away from your kids, or we can take you to hunt a ram for 2 weeks, or we can take you to Belize for 5 days. That's what it's about. And I'm about reinvigorating America, that just because you don't see it on CNN, Fox, or wherever the hell it is, it's still going on. And we have a responsibility inherently, because we all get to sit here and drink beer right now because of those people.
That's right.
Amen. Yeah.
Sorry, I went crazy there.
Yeah. No, and I think it's important, something that we didn't really cover, but
need to knock out a set.
I'm going to steal that. You better catch it on camera when I'm carrying that out to the car. I'm just a dude talking to dudes, playing a dude.
Yeah. Dudette.
Dudette.
But I do think it's important. One of the things that we were founded on, and one of the things that I think has been successful to us too, is that we're a peer-to-peer support program.
Yes.
And basically what that's saying is that we just have like-minded men and women there to help each other. And if they need that next step, and if they want to, get further help, yes, we'll help you. We'll talk you through either the VA, or if you want private help, whatever you need, whatever you want.
Cohen Network.
We'll get you to the right place. But the idea is more of, let's not scare people away with somebody on site, a doctor on site that's going to come in and do that, because there actually are some where they'll take guys, hunting up north for 2 weeks, and then they get there and they have to sit down with a therapist for like 2 hours before they get to go.
I've never even heard of
It's
that.
a bait and switch program. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
It's like
timeshare.
Come check out the timeshare. We'll give you a set of steak knives.
That's exactly what it is.
Dude, that's a good way to get punched in the eye.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how many veterans I know wouldn't want to throw down after that.
Yeah, just crazy, right? A crazy thing to do. But yeah, so when we were first getting started, we had heard some of those stories from some of the people in our program, and so we, just enforced it even more. Okay, that's not the direction we're going to go.
Right.
We're going to stick with this, and because sometimes it's not always about the big things, right? Sometimes it's an anniversary of when your buddy was killed or when he committed suicide or whatever the case, he or she, whatever the case is. And sometimes it's a week of depression, and not severe, I'm still going to go to work, but I'm pissy and
You went through that with me, remember?
Remember?
It's
just,
the very first year I was there. Yeah, that was terrible. That was
it's hard, right? And so sometimes you just need someone to kind of be there that knows. Mm-hmm. And I don't try to. I don't act like it. I'll listen if somebody wants to talk to me, but I'm not going to tell them I understand, because I don't.
Right.
But other people do. And when you're, I liken it to this. I say this all the time. If you walk into any type of an event and you see one person across the room, what are you going to do? You're going to go over to them and strike up a conversation, and then maybe go and try to meet and greet and do everything else. But the first thing you're going to do is find somebody that you know,
right,
or somebody that's common with you, works at your company, or you name it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, I don't really know him, but I see. Yeah, I've seen that guy before. I'm gonna go talk to him. It's the same thing, right? It's not rocket science. It's just people helping people, and veterans are the ones that want to do it the most, especially the ones that suffer.
Yeah,
because there's nothing that makes them feel better than to help other people, right? Mm-hmm. I think we're all innately in that way in some ways, but when you experience some traumatic event, whether it be combat of any kind, I mean, you could take it, car wreck victims, right? Like the ones that survive, they all have something they can talk to the other people that have too, and they have something that the rest of us don't know.
It's that pupil-teacher relationship, right? Like the teacher feels like, or the pupil feels like they're the ones that are in the great spot, but the truth is the teacher feels privileged just as much.
That's exactly right.
More.
Yeah. And there's some healing with that. There's some healing knowing that, I may be struggling inside, but I just helped somebody today. Mm. He feels it when he's helping doing some of his stuff where he's getting guys their benefits and he's getting there. And it's just, there's just something to be like, yeah, man, I did something worthwhile today, even though I'm having a hard time, but man, it just takes the load off knowing I did something for somebody else. And all we're trying to do is put that into a form of come here, have coffee, talk, go sit in a tree stand, go whatever the case is. You find what you want. I mean, the way we're set up, I mean, you pick and choose what you want to do. You don't have to do anything. You can come to the
flexibility aspect I think is awesome, because you attract more folks that way, because they have options and they can do different things that excite them. And I would imagine you're probably looking to do more of those, right, along the way, right? You probably have a list, I'm sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah, here's the next 10 excursions we're gonna start to roll out.
The board's usually like, Erica, do we have money? I don't know, but I'll find it. I'll figure it out. We're doing a lionfish hunt in June.
What is a lionfish?
Is that those?
Lionfish are a very invasive species that
like
destroy
boars?
Yes,
boars?
yes, they are the holy shit!
Boars?
I've never heard of that like comparison.
Carp? No,
they are the boars of the sea. And
let's go kill some then.
Yes, that's amazing.
How far does an AR shoot underwater?
We're gonna find out. I guess.
Those sticks of dynamite.
But yeah, we do that, and then we've got 100 veterans. He doesn't know this yet, but so one of our pillars is fishing for freedom, and we take 50 veterans out bass fishing hunting, and we pair them with 50 pro bass fishermen, and they bring their boats and they pay for everything.
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
We had such phenomenal nominal interest last year. We got a sponsor that was like, I want you to up it and I'm going to pay for it. So we're working on that right now where we can take 100 and 100.
Oh, wow.
We're trying to
that's
figure it out.
awesome.
He doesn't know that yet.
Well, he does now.
Well, he does now. But the growth is
Surprise.
crazy. And I'm like, who wants to underwater basket weave? Let's do that shit. Like, put the goggles on. Let's make some baskets.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
I-
Underwater basket weaving.
Let's figure it out. But that's the point. Like, let's just figure it out. So
We
that's
gotta
what.
get certified
You know what my
in
answer
scuba
is to
first,
that?
and then-
No.
Yeah.
We're not
Hey,
doing that.
Brett's
The line.
absolute answer
Not
is like,
taking it on.
we are not funding that. We're not doing that. And I'm such like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything and everything.
Absolutely.
It sounds like me and my wife. She's like, we're going to go do this, this, and this. And then I'm just like, all right, we'll see. And then she'll look at the kids. She'll be like, we'll see is basically a no.
Look at their faces, Dad. Look at their faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
funny.
have that relationship, but anywho,
Yeah.
we're trying to do as much as we can for as many as we can, and I always say for as long as we can. You know, nonprofit is expendable. It depends on what people believe in, whether it's kids with cancer, God bless their hearts. You know, we all want them to heal, or whether it's veterans or anything. Like, it just depends on what people believe in. And my job is to make them to continue to believe that after 20 years of war, there are still wounds going on. And we need to save them because they went out and they did things for us that we don't want to talk about in public, right? Like, nobody wants to talk about lifting a gun and handing, anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to upset anyone, but nobody wants to talk about the reality of that and what we asked of them as a country.
Right.
What we asked them to do, they did. And at one point during my tenure, I was told, we're going to stop paying soldiers because this administration couldn't come up with a budget to approve it. So the first ones to get knocked off were the veterans.
Yeah.
We're going to stop all the pay for the soldiers downrange in theater with weapons. And that's a real story. And if you don't believe it, ladies and gentlemen, look it up. Never happened. But it was real. Yeah. And if you think that that's not trauma, you're freaking twisted. Get your shit together. Yeah. I mean, I've been told stories by my husband who was downrange when that happened. He's like, half of them threw their fucking guns on the ground, and the other half were like, that's not what I'm here for.
It's bad for morale.
And so you had to deal with that. But anyway, we're all here today, and you guys are doing great work, and hopefully we can continue to do our good work.
Well, you guys have a big team there at the Warriors for Freedom Foundation. How many people are working for you guys now?
We wish. It's not a big team.
We have two.
We have two. And we're getting ready to
big
hire.
Team of two. We are looking to hire.
Yeah.
But really, Denise has been with us for a long time. I think she was around 15, but she actually helped us a little bit prior to that. So she kind of worked with us off and on, and she's the one usually answering the phones. And
she's a superhero.
Well, you have a network of volunteers.
We do.
And
We do,
that's a
for
huge
sure.
network.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of not-for-profits are restructuring their organizations, is reducing the amount of payroll and just having all the volunteers basically on board without.
Yeah, and in a way you have to. It's a sad, I don't like the way it's set up, but you kind of have to play by the rules, so to speak. And that is you can't overpay anyone because the first thing people do is they want to look at your books and they're like, why are you paying them that much? And I'm like, well, they raised 10 times that, but people don't care because they're so stuck on the amount of money that's going out in salary. So for a smaller group like us, it's even if we wanted to pay her more, there's just times where we can't, until we grow. But you have to justify it to all these people because they truly will go right in there and look at that. They'll look at those numbers, and it's terrible because it's the opposite of what the private industry does, right?
Yeah, 100%.
The private industry's out there, and they're, hey, you're going to do it. I'll pay you if you do it. And then in our case, it's the opposite. We want you to do it, but we're not going to pay you what you're worth. Yeah. And so it's hard to get the really good people unless you're, one of those really big organizations. But
or someone that actually gives a shit because it applies so much.
Yeah.
You know what? I think Denise said to me, "What's your pay raise this year?" And I said, "Nothing." She said, "Well, then I'm not going to take mine." I gave her one. And I said, that's bullshit. Like, it's my job as a leader to take care of you. And it's not. It's just a conversation that needs to be had about nonprofit. Like, Denise does phenomenal things for us. I absolutely adore her. Like, she goes out of her way. I mean, I've had to chastise her for gripping out her own credit card. And she'd be like, well, I whipped out $2,000 because my credit card for the nonprofit didn't work. And I'm like, well, I was out of town and they flagged it. And I'm like, well, don't ever come out of your own profit. But that's the people that we're working with that we're so committed to our veterans and to our military community that Denise or I would do that. You know, it's absolutely inappropriate, but it's the commitment to making sure that everything is flawless and executed with class for our community. We're not gonna sacrifice that for.
That's some serious leverage, though. I mean, that the group, y'all's small group, have touched that many lives each year.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
well, it's incredible.
It is. It really is. I mean,
it is a lot.
Staggering.
I don't know if you guys
There's not
think
a
about
lot of
that,
sleep going on at her house. I mean,
I
she works late. She gets up early and works late.
I got yelled at them last year. Was it last year? I got yelled at them and they were like, "You've got to stop. Like we're worried about you."
We had to pull her into one of our board meetings and then like, "You've got to slow down. 'Cause she's gonna have burnout." I mean, you know, you can only go so long at that pace.
They had an intervention.
And we did. And
it didn't stop because I was like, "Sorry guys, it's not going to stop." Like,
you made a 5-year in your head, like, "Hey, I'm going to sprint for 5 years, and then I'm going to stop." Yeah, I get that. I get that.
I'm going to come work for the Star in Frisco. No.
Yeah, maybe.
No. I'm going to go scuba diving for the rest of my life when this is over.
Go live in Belize.
Yes,
there you go.
Maybe Bonaire. Bonaire is a great place, but
we took people there too.
I wanted to go to the Azores Islands.
Azores.
Have
you been there?
No, I haven't. But
I got my 20-year anniversary coming up, and Christy's starting to look at like she's like, "We're going somewhere," because we missed our 15th because I had a work conference.
I've never celebrated, but when I've never celebrated anything, I think we got married over the phone.
Oh, really?
True story, because 9/11 happened. I had a huge wedding planned in New Hampshire, all the family, all the things, the dress. 9/11 happened, and I fly home, and 9/11 happened. Anyway, we were supposed to get, I think it was the 13th or the 6th. I don't remember. Anyway, it's like 8 million years ago. But true story, put a bow on it. We couldn't get married. And so we couldn't find a time because combat was so high at that time. Nobody knew it was going on in 2001. And finally, my mother, she's such a gangster. She worked for the United Way at the courthouse. And she's like, "I'm going to go talk to my friends." And she went up and talked to her friends at the courthouse. They filled out all of our paperwork. I'm not going to say who. But anyway, they signed all of our shit. And then they called us and he's like, "Do you obey?" And I'm like, "You can go fuck yourself. I'm never obeying you." And then they go, "We accept that." And we got, my husband and I got married over the phone because of 9/11. And I returned all the shit. We got all the money. We went on vacation. I was like, thanks for sending us a gift. We brought it back for monies. You know, we were like in our 20s, whatever. But anywho, I digress. So to your point, hilarious. You did good. I mean, you missed it because of a conference. I mean, don't feel bad. We missed it because of war.
I felt horrible. I was like, oh man,
I mean, war and a conference. I mean, it's the same.
Basically the same.
It kind of suck. You better take her wherever she wants to go.
I told her
that's one long conference. If it lasted the whole
year. It was a week. 15th year. Well, it was a week. It was a week, and
365 days.
I hope your wife listens to these podcasts because Brett just helped you.
She does, but the 20th will be something memorable. I'm sure she'll plan something
I'm hitting
amazing.
23, and I'm like, "Can I go on a cruise with my friend Krista?" And he's like, "It's $988." I'm like, "Good." I don't know. We're special. But thanks, guys, for having us.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about these. So you brought these amazing 11-ounce rocks glasses, and you just got these in.
Yeah, we just did.
And you can
there you go.
Pick one up. Oh, well, I was going to check out the packaging.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Cheers, care and cleaning.
You should get a recipe for an nice old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned coaster, and then the actual glass
Was it you
itself.
that came up with this? Did you start this?
Well, I was the one that found this. These guys, Bin Shot, they're awesome. It's a father-son group, and we started buying stuff. They have just the full bullets that go into the side.
Yeah.
And I mean, they actually now start doing golf balls, and they'll do fishing lures and all kinds of stuff. But
cool.
I just bought Jace a Lego one. They have a Lego in it.
Oh,
It's for
they
his
do?
birthday.
I haven't
Hopefully he
seen
doesn't
that.
hear this, but I bought my son. He loves Legos. He's 21.
Yeah.
It has a Lego in it, and they
that's
engraved it, and it said, "Let go of Jace's glass."
Oh, is that right?
That's funny.
I'm a big.
Stupid.
I still build
does.
the big ones like the Lamborghini and the Bugatti.
He does
and
like
the big ones.
Americana shit. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
Statue of Liberty, the
Oh, yeah.
White House, and stuff.
Cool.
So you
So
need to
these
tell
are-
the story because these are brand new. We just got them in
Yeah.
yesterday. I didn't even know about them.
He didn't know about it, so they had ordered the ones. I think they were 208s or something. I don't know. I'm not very good with ammunition. So
308.
that's whatever. My husband's that guy. But anyway, I said, well, I don't want the bullet to go through. Like, I don't even want it to have an opportunity to pierce. Warriors for Freedom wants to completely stop the bullet in its tracks. So we got these ones because the bullet basically is a star in the glass, and
Right.
Warriors for Freedom is stopping the bullet to go through, consistent with our R22 message
That's
to
awesome.
stop soldier and veteran suicide. And so it doesn't even get to pierce. So the best part about this, as a wife and as a homemaker, if you will, when I do, I don't have to deal with twisting around the bullet. I can just wash the glass. But well, that's the silly part. But literally, the impact is like we're stopping. Warriors for Freedom is stopping the bullets before they can even go through. There's not even a bend in the glass anymore.
Yeah.
We're doing that. I would share that, to put a bow on it. I had a wife tell me last coffee, she said, before my husband knew Warriors for Freedom, I had served him papers to get divorced.
Oh wow.
And I just kind of looked at her and she said, and I told him he had a choice to make. And he started coming out with one of our other veterans, and she said, now we're happier than we've ever been in 4 months.
That's an amazing
So
story.
after 20 years, they're staying married because of what we're giving them and what we're doing. And so I think it just goes beyond, the soldier feels like, I say soldier because I'm Army, so I apologize to everyone else, but the soldier feels like they're not doing enough for their family, their kids, their wives, and they feel like a failure. I'm not bringing enough money. I'm not who I was. I'm not all these things, but really they just want you to be there. Just be there and listen and have conversations. And, if you're in the Oklahoma City area, if you're not, reach out to us. I love phone calls and I love talking if y'all haven't heard. So just call us and let us stop the pattern and help you find a better path. So
Now, can our listeners go and online and get these and donate? Is there some sort of way they can purchase one where proceeds go to?
So
Is
the
that
answer
set
is
up, or-
yes, but
Okay.
they were delivered.
Yeah.
They were
Probably not
literally-
Not yet. Okay,
Yeah,
so
probably
soon
not up
though.
yet.
It
All
will.
right.
It will be fast. It'll be next week.
Okay.
We had those delivered Monday this week. Brett walked in the door and I'm like, "Oh, Brett," because we wanted to bring you guys something to remember
Yeah,
us.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And I was like, "Oh, these," and I pulled them out, and we both kind of appreciated the moment together.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're
and
awesome.
I've
so
never seen those.
Denise is like, "We have to inventory them all. They're worth cash." And they're part of the inventory, the whole thing. So give us a week and you can get them. And
And we have different ones too, right?
we do. We have golf balls.
Yeah.
We have arrows
seen
for
a
those
couple of those, yeah.
archery.
Do you have the shotgun shell
shotguns?
ones?
Yeah, we have
those are
shotgun shells.
cool.
Ben Shot's been awesome. They're out of Wisconsin. They support veteran organizations. You can go on there now and,
Yeah, you can order your own custom ones. They're great people.
They're right.
They've
Yeah.
always been really good to us, and we've been working with them for years, and we proudly support them.
They have
Great.
Operation Enduring Warrior on their website proper. That's their organization, which I would never try to take anything from them. I love those dudes. But they are a veteran-loved organization, so
Great.
we're proud to be partners with them.
Well, we're absolutely floored to be partners with you guys and be able
love
for you
you.
guys to sponsor Dudes Talking Freedom.
Yeah, thank you.
We get chills I get chills when I say it every time that we introduce Warriors for Freedom as our sponsor. It's a real honor. So we really appreciate the partnership that we've created here.
Well, if you don't mind, I want to just interrupt. I want to say one last thing is that if a lot of your listeners are a lot like more on the civilian side, is the biggest thing I would say is find a nonprofit, find whatever you're passionate about. Kids with cancer, whatever it is, whatever your calling is, and you all have one, whether you want to chase it or not, but you have it, and just do it. Like, make that step, make that call that nonprofit. And find out how you can help, and just do it. Volunteering is the biggest thing you can do, because we always need volunteers. Every group does, and also do your homework. Not all nonprofits are the same, and some are not as good as stewards of their money as others. But But just, you can ask the right questions and you can do some research online and find out where they're spending their money and how they're doing it. But I would ask all of you, is the happiest I've been in my life is when I've done this. When I've helped other people, it's the best thing that I've done. And I'm not so selfish to say it's got to be warriors, it's got to be veterans. No, man, find where your passion is and go out and do it.
Be kind to each other.
But take that first step, make that first call.
Yeah, love each other. That's all we got.
Fantastic advice.
Yeah.
So how do they reach you? Obviously, we tell them all every week, right? warriorsforfreedom.org.
My cell phone number is Joe
555.
555.
It's on a bathroom stall.
No, you just go to www. It is probably in Boston somewhere. No, it's totally appropriate. It's totally appropriate. It's probably in a place called Biddy Early's, if you understand that. But,
I don't.
God, I'll take you there someday. But it's www.warriorsforfreedom.org. And if you want to call us, it's 405-286-9986. Is it?
No, it's 20.
9920. See, that's how bad. No.
Do this again.
No. He's don't
Rewind.
Don't edit. No, it's hilarious because we never call it because I literally give out my cell phone to all veterans. They literally have direct contact.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And just to reach out, send an email a lot of times too. And again, there's just 2 of them, and they're doing their best. We recently just moved offices, and are we still having trouble with AT&T? So we're still having some actual issues with that phone line anyway. For whatever reason, they can't seem to figure out how to navigate the building we're in right now, but everybody else seems to have them, but us.
Fair.
And
phones are dead
we're not
anyway.
calling out AT&T, but it's not working.
Phones are dead anyway. Most people like to text or email these days.
But it's true. Like my cell phone and Denise's cell phone, people use it. I mean, unfortunately, I'll get, some days right before events, I'll get 300 calls a day. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
your little text red bubble is probably like 1,426. That would drive me crazy.
Not much right now, but no, it's only 2. I've been good, but my messages were just to put a button. I'm at 227 messages because we give out our direct emails, and I think that's important. I mean, it sucks. I mean, you have to get through them all, and people get pissed when you don't have a 24-hour turnaround. But it is what it is. So.
You're dealing with a lot of folks.
But it's 405-286-9920. If you want to try to call, we are open Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4. And then Fridays, we're 8:30 to noon, but we're probably there a lot longer than that. So give a call.
And usually that's because there's an event on Friday afternoon.
Yeah. And then it's info@warriorsforfreedom.org if you want to reach out. But the best place, you can get me anytime. I swear to God, I fly up out of the bed on Facebook and anywhere on social. So.
All right. Well, cool, guys. Hit them up. Support them if it's what grabs you, right?
Yeah, check out their website, and if you can, consider a donation or volunteer if you're in the area.
Volunteer,
and I'd like to ask anyone. We have a thing on there that basically you can give monthly, and $10 or $20 is what you can afford. And I don't know if you're like a lot of people, but sometimes you don't even notice that $20 gets pulled out every month, and it's an easy give. So just ask whatever that is. If it's $5, great, man. We'd love to have it. And
I just went through an exercise recently, and I canceled a whole bunch of subscriptions. And I was like, wait a minute. And I told my wife about it. And I'm like, I just got this notification on my email. Are you still using this app? And she's like, no. And I'm like, it's like $70 a year. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I'm like, cancel.
$365 a month is what I just canceled for shit I don't use.
Yeah, it's crazy. You just don't even think
about it.
I
work in nonprofit. No wonder my husband's pissed at me.
Yeah,
what?
That's how they get you, these phones.
Because you forget
they
about
suck
it.
you in. It's
I would rather them forget us.
That's what I was going to say.
Than forget
That's exactly
Netflix.
what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Forget about the donation to Warriors.
You're right. Just
if you remember in 10 years, we'll be happy, I promise.
Thank you, Daniel.
Another gym membership.
You're awesome.
They can shift. People can absolutely shift.
Average
$10 for an app that they're using. Check out, look in your iPhone subscriptions and see if there's anything you're not using anymore, and it's $20 a month or $20 a year. You can maybe donate $5.
Proverbial couch cushion.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
Yeah.
It's the digital couch
longest
cushion.
episode you've ever done?
No. No.
Shit, let's
We've
keep
done
going,
some
Brett.
long
Come
ones.
on.
Keep going.
Done some long
Crack a
ones.
beer. Who's
Marathon,
going to make some noise?
I guess I can have another.
We can do more. Let's talk about it.
Well, thank you all for
Thank
being
you guys
here.
for
We
having
really
us.
Jeremy.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
You guys are awesome.
Are you listening? Damn.
All right, dudes and dudettes, that's a wrap for this episode of Dudes Talking Freedom. Many thanks to Brett and Erica from Warriors for Freedom for joining us. And again, please check out their website, and if you can, consider making a small donation or a recurring one. For DTF, this is Jeremy,
This is Luke.
and we'll see you next time.